It has been said the greatest teacher we could have is experience. Experience teaches us a lot. Let me give you a rough example. When we talk about doing a public speech, or we read about how to put together a speech, and we prepare to give a speech, all of those things are important. But the greatest learning that we have is when we actually have to give the speech. For those people who have this unbelievable fear of getting up in front of people, and then to do it, and to do it successfully, can teach so many more things than the speech itself. It can teach you about what you can do, what you can overcome. See, the experience broadens the learning. But how do we use this in coaching? How do we use this to develop our talent? Let me give you another quick lesson. As many of you know, I coach high school boys volleyball. And personally, because I played it for a long time, I think it's one of the ultimate team sports. But when you're dealing with teenage boys, teamwork doesn't come naturally. Doesn't mean it's arduous, but it doesn't come naturally. So what I do every year is I have my captains read a book, Our Iceberg is Melting, by John Kotter. And the reason I love this book, one, it's a simple read. Two, it doesn't take a lot of time, but it's about a community of penguins, and the iceberg is melting. And they talk about, what do we do? How do we work together? Do we just protect ourselves, or do we protect the whole group of penguins? So as I'm doing this presentation, my captain of the volleyball team, my main captain, came up to me after practice last night. And he said, "Hey, I'm reading that book." He goes, "That was really cool. I'm really kind of getting into it." He's 16 years old. And I said, "Well, what are you learning?" He said, "I'm starting to think about which penguin is who on our team." And I said, "Well, that's kind of the idea of it." I said, "What does that mean to you as a captain?" He said, "I've got to figure out a way to reach everybody." 16 years old. I never once went up to him and said, "You've got to reach your teammates. You got to communicate better." And that's where I think we lose the value of experience. So traditional activities are have your company or your team get into an obstacle course or a race where they have to work together. And it forces communication. It forces cheering for your teammate. See, we don't do that enough in the corporate workplace. So the process can really be fun. Think about observing the experience and using that as a teaching tool or a coaching moment. Facilitate the experience. Maybe it's a swim relay, an obstacle course, walking across hot coals. Prompt for the creation of the experience. Ask your team, "You know what, I think we need to do better teamwork. What could we do as a team that would be fun outside of work?" Get them involved. Recently, I had a company literally share with me that one of the things that they did, which was contrary to what they always did. Well, the company's going to get a softball team together and a volleyball team, and we're going to all play, and we got to sign up. If we don't sign up, we kind of look bad. Now, those are their words. I'm not against those things. And one guy said, "What if we did paintball and we got into teams?" And he later told me, he goes, "I honestly believe that paintball league that we joined became more fun because we started to communicate more." I said, yeah, experience is awesome that way. It really is. Then when you go to step 2, you have to structure the activity. Rules of engagement, how they should communicate, point systems, but you target the performance. So let's say your organization's going to organize a paintball league, and the performance might be communication. So what I want each team to do is come up with sound or hand signals in terms of what they need to do to either attack or hide within the paintball game. But it forces different elements of communication. What do most people do? They don't communicate when the things are tough. We struggle with conflict. So if we can build some foundational communication strategies, it will really, really help. Now, earlier I shared with you I coached boys volleyball. I remember when I played in high school, I had a teammate who was 100% hearing impaired. We had to learn sign language on the court. And so recently when I coached a volleyball team, we had someone who was hearing impaired. And I started to talk to some of the guys about hand signals. What are you going to do? You can't yell at the back of him. He can't hear you. And so we ended up having some signals by tapping him on the shoulder. 2 taps was, block right. 2 taps on the left shoulder was block left. And so these type of things create great experiences. But then we have to prompt and validate the learning. And some of the best things that you can do is to ask somebody, what did you learn? Number 2, what did you learn about yourself you are committed to changing? See, if we have an experience, and let's say the teams are doing an obstacle course, have everybody write this down. Have a sheet. And say, based on your observation of your teammates and the fun and the experience you just shared, what did you learn about yourself you're committed to changing? We just had something like this at a client site, and somebody literally said in front of the group, she said, could I share mine? I said, sure. She said, I think I just tend to do my job and go home. I never realized how hard other people work. She was not referencing the workplace. She was referencing what they were doing in this obstacle course. And they had done some things in the woods and high ropes and walking across beams at a tall level. And it was very scary for some people. And she said, I never realized so many people I worked with had no fears and they could attack these things. And here I am. And she completely looked in the mirror. Now, quite frankly, she was actually not viewed negatively by the teammates, by the way. She was viewed very positively, but she exposed herself. Guess what happened? Everybody else started to share. If you use experience, it is one of the best coaching tools that you can have. I hope this has helped.